I don't think so. No, thanks, Ron, that's all.
Okay, thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
The motion to adjourn is night for
Yeah.
class.
Okay, we're going to open the meeting to public comment. I would just ask that whoever wants to speak, raise your hand, we'll identify you, and try to hold your comments for 3 minutes or less, please.
Just a quick question. My name's Tony Pate. I live in Blissfield. I don't live in your township, but I do appreciate you having me. And what you do in your township does affect the general community and Lenawee County as a whole. And simple question without getting on a soapbox today. How many members of your board currently have contracts with the windmill companies of any fashion or will in the near future that you're aware of?
2.
2 out of 5 members?
That's right.
I contacted the Attorney General's Office of Michigan. They are drafting a letter explaining the conflict of interest as it pertains to township boards and planning commissions. You will be getting a copy of this in the near future, and they have launched a case number on this for all the townships surrounding this area, and I will be following up. Thank you.
Please stand.
Just a second before you go. Can I ask one question? Can I see a show of hands of Ogden residents? Thank you.
My name is Libby Salek, and I live in Ogden Township up on Pike Road. I would like to know, when the committee asked for a year, you would only give them 6 months moratorium, when they specifically asked for a year to work through this.
That was last week.
Last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Last Tuesday.
At our last monthly meeting.
Okay, I wasn't able to attend last month's meeting because I am board members of other clubs.
So what your question again?
Is why it was denied to give a year when a year moratorium was requested.
We made the motion to go to the year moratorium. That failed. 11 months, I'm sorry. That motion failed. And we had another motion come to the table to go with a 6-month, and that motion carried.
Thank you.
Bring it back.
Dave Porter, Ogden resident. Just curious, is the committee then, the Citizens Committee, are they going to bring positive things too, or is what they've brought so far kind of a sampling of what they're going to do? Because I guess if it's a fair thing, we should be seeing some positive things coming from the committee also, right?
Can I answer? I'm Eric Martis. I'm from the Citizens Committee, and Norris Klump sat there for the last 2 months on this committee, and he had every opportunity to bring the fair. We did bring in stuff that we thought was the impacts on our community, and Norris had every opportunity to go and bring what he felt were impact, and all he brought was, in the last 2 months, one piece of paper that was given only to Greg Stein about property value guarantees. Other than that, nothing else was given out by Norris, and he had all the time in the last 2 months to go and bring those impacts also. And yes, we are looking into all those.
Then,
Go ahead.
sorry, I guess I would have to ask you, if you had this time to look for it, if Norris is the only one who brought anything positive, then are you telling me then the rest of the people in the committee could not find anything positive for the whole project? I'm a little confused.
We did, because we also have the monetary in here, and we're looking into the monetary gains and the roads and all that stuff, which is part of this.
Just make it. Russ, you want to explain?
I'm Russ Mead. I'm the chairman of the Citizens Committee, and it is on the agenda tonight to discuss positive impacts. When we adjourned the last meeting, the question on positive impacts was the last item that was brought up at all. And we said at that point that we would discuss it in this meeting tonight on March 14th, and it is on the agenda.
Josh Nolan, I'm actually a Sylvania resident, and just to respond to Mr. Porter's comment, it's my understanding that the advisory committee is to identify issues and report back with recommendations to the township board for the purpose of creating reasonable regulations. There aren't too many reasonable regulations that are created for positive benefits. Instead, the regulations are created to protect the population from the negative impacts of whatever various issue may be out there.
James Jonathan, Blissfield Advance. I wasn't there when the committee was formed. How exactly were the members chosen, or was it volunteer basis?
It was, they were in the audience out here, and they raised their hands, and we had, I think there was 6 of them, correct?
Yes.
Took roll call vote on it.
We took a roll call vote on it.
On each one of them.
So we had actually 6 of them out there that volunteered.
And had decided to pick 5 out of the 6.
Okay, can I ask who was not? I mean, who wasn't chosen in
Josh
time?
Van.
Josh Van.
Me. Me. Can you believe it?
Gee, I wonder why.
Could I?
Norris Clump, Ogden. I was originally asked to do this. I said I would help identify impacts, implications, anything that had to do with this ordinance or this wind turbine project. I didn't say I would sit on it for a year. I didn't say I would sit on it for 6 months. I said I would help identify any kind of impacts. And so far, I think we've done that. My question is, how much farther are we going to go? We have 45 items that we've listed as impacts. If you don't want to hear about the positive, that's fine with me. And we can turn that in, and you can take that information and do what you want with it. If you want to form another committee and come up with some kind of progressive thing to handle all these things, that's up to you. But I'm not going to sit on it for 6 months. Sorry.
Could I say something? I think if you read our resolution that we just passed today, it's pretty much spelled out. It says, whereas the Township Board has determined that in the best interest of the public health, welfare, safety of persons and property to enact a moratorium for a limited and temporary basis to allow time to review various issues regarding regulating wind energy conversion systems in the property, in the community. So I think it's spelled out in what we adopted today and what the task is, very clearly.
Norris, my question is, how long do you want us to go about doing this? I mean, you have a 6-month moratorium, but it doesn't take us 6 months to identify impacts. We've already done that.
I guess my comment would be this, the committee does not have to take the full 6 months, but the committee needs to analyze from the list of problems that they foresee and go through. Some will be able to be tossed out due to other over-regulating agencies. There'll probably, I would assume, there'll be more added. And hopefully, before the 6 months is up, we'll have, the committee will be able to bring to us as a board a recommendation of ordinance, with an ordinance containing the regulations and rules that we wish to have enacted.
Well, one thing I'd like to say, let's use a little example of something that just happened here in the center. We have a county drain that runs through a field out here and runs on up to some property right up here at the corner. And that drain had to be rerouted to allow the person to put a leach field in. And the county engineered that project, and the individual paid for rerouting. Well, after it was rerouted, we had an issue with water running up and creating an issue for some neighboring residents. That time we had them bring down a camera to check the drain to make certain it was clear, and it was. They looked it over and said, well, we can do this and that. So we walk away from it, not thinking anything about it, that, you know, the Drain Commission, they came down, they designed this, and it's failed, they'll fix it. Now the township gets the bill. Everybody that's on that drain district is going to get assessed. These are some of the impacts that I think that when you look at this, we need to talk to Mr. Mays, our Drain Commissioner, so that when these things go out here and they have to cut through a drainage ditch, because that's all part of our drain system, and there'll be permits issued and they'll have to do things to their specifications, but when it's all over said and done and they're gone 6 months later, maybe one of those banks caves in, guess what? Probably everybody on that drain district is going to pay to get it fixed. These are the impacts, these are the things that take time to look into. Give you another example, maybe Lifeline. We may need to take and contact them to see if they're going to be able to land in here, or are we going to have a designated area for them to land. Another thing is crop dusting. All of us have been able to take and have that done by an airplane if we so choose. There may be an issue there. I think Channel 40 has come to play on this thing. There's a lot of issues out there that take a lot of time to take and explore and do it right. If we want to do it right, we've got one chance at that. That's before this project starts, so every side of this party on this can be done right. We're not sitting here telling you it can't happen. We're just saying we've got one shot at making it right.
Norris Clump. Most of those, so a lot of the questions we proposed in our first list will be handled by county regs, drain commission issues, drain commission rules, and state regs. So a lot of those questions can be handled through those people that we as a committee really have no business trying to answer because they're already in place. So I would say that information's there, and the board can take full advantage of those things in that list that we gave you already.
Jim Stutzman, I'm a township resident. I heard Richard state what the committee was supposed to respond to the board as, but that's not my understanding of what the committee was designed for, to draft and present and compile an ordinance or a guideline to be presented to you. I thought that they were only to identify pros, cons, and it was going to be submitted to you, and then you as a board were going to decide the proper procedures beyond that. I did not feel the committee was empowered to present to you a draft ordinance. That's my understanding of the committee. And I did not see that in the special meeting minutes that gave them that broad of authority.
They have gone beyond my expectations of being able to do that. I never dreamt we would have people on the committee with the ability to provide us that kind of information. And I guess, having said that, it was presented, this moratorium ordinance was presented to us, but we did not enact what they presented. We gave that to the attorney. He reviewed it. He's given us his recommendation and reworked it. And I guess I look at it that by the committee doing that, they've saved the township quite a bit of money because the attorney didn't have to spend the time drafting it. And $200 an hour, that amounts to quite a bit, I believe, over a 6-month period.
Kevin Decatur. My first involvement here was because my wife said, hey, there's an article in the paper about a wind energy meeting, you want to go? And I came. I first spoke, and apparently this has been going on for a while before my involvement. And so while the committee was being asked for volunteers, I wasn't prepared at that time to raise my hand because that was the first time I'd been here. But I did have concerns about equality and fairness, I guess, because it's clear that there are two different sides, and people have legitimate concerns. And things that are there available to those that want either severe restrictions or don't want wind energy generators at all in the township can pull model ordinances from places that have enacted ordinances similar to that. And just as a good citizen, I'm doing research on my own, and I'm hitting websites. I'm reviewing that kind of information as well, about health impacts, about people who are writing their own blog because of how things have affected them. But I'm also looking at people that have adopted ordinances that are models that I want to be informed about, so that as I discuss and as I listen, I'm doing it intelligently and not just emotionally. And so I'm going to continue to listen. I'm going to continue to speak, both in regards to a committee as well as the township board, just to make sure that we're incorporating all those things. So I'm not trying to usurp anybody's authority or usurp, take away from anybody else's work, but as an informed citizen, which I think we all should be, and those that